So, you ever wonder if it's really possible to go from a regular 9 to 5 salary to, becoming a millionaire? Well, today, we're going to break down a 10-step plan that claims to be the exact roadmap for that. Let's get right into it. Now, this whole plan, it comes straight from Natalie Dawson. She's an entrepreneur who says she literally lived this. I mean, her claim is pretty wild. She went from earning $55,000 a year in a job she hated to a net worth of over $100 million. That's a heck of a jump. So what we're going to do in this breakdown is boil down her 10 steps into a really clear, actionable game plan. It's all based on the lessons she says she learned on her journey. All right, so the whole process kicks off with building a solid foundation. You can't build a skyscraper on sand, right? This first part is all about getting your head in the game and figuring out your direction before you even take that first step. Okay, step number 1, you've got to identify your millionaire skill. Now listen, this isn't about inventing the next big thing from scratch. It's way simpler. It's about looking at career paths that already exist, being an entrepreneur, a real estate agent, an engineer, places where people are already pulling in $1 million a year. And here's the cool part. She gives you a really simple tool to figure this out. You literally just create a grid, just like this one. You list out those millionaire jobs, and then, and you have to be honest here, you rate your interest and your current knowledge from 1 to 5. This is how you zero in on a path that actually makes sense for you, so you can pick one and just go all in. Okay, let's get into the next piece of building that foundation. And, this is where the advice gets a little controversial. Steps 2 and 3 are all about curating your environment. The idea is that you have to consciously step away from friends who might drag you down or tell you your goals are crazy. Instead, you're supposed to find mentors, or what she calls rich teachers. People have already done it, who can give you the blueprint and really push you to be better. All right, so once that foundation is solid, it's time for the next phase. This is all about the real work. This is where you start to acquire your edge. And that means some intense learning and, investing in yourself. And this really gets to the heart of the mindset shift for step 4. It's all about seeing your time as your single most important asset. Think about it. Every spare moment, your mornings, your commute, your weekends. Instead of just, scrolling or watching TV, you're turning that into study time. The whole point is to become an absolute student of whatever game you decided to play. Okay, now this next step, it's going to challenge what a lot of us have been taught about money. Step 5 throws out this idea of going into debt to get rich. Not for stuff that loses value, but using it as a strategic tool to actually move forward. One of Natalie's own mentors is Grant Cardone, and he puts it perfectly. The whole idea is that when you spend money on courses or coaching, that's not an expense. It's an investment. You're buying the knowledge that's going to make you time and money down the road. And she walks the talk on this one. She tells a story about her first big investment in herself. It was a $4,000 marketing course that, honestly, she couldn't afford. But putting that money down, making that scary commitment, it forced her to learn the skills and make sure that investment paid off. It created pressure in a good way. Okay, so you're building up your skills, you're investing in yourself. What's next? Well, now you've got to leverage all that. This next part is all about making those critical connections. The mission is simple. You have to get in the room. So this is step 6, and it's a really clever strategy. You use events and conferences not just for networking, but as a deadline for your own growth. You invest the money to go, and that date on the calendar becomes your target. You have to ask yourself, okay, who do I need to be in the next 90 days to actually be valuable to the heavy hitters in that room? It really forces you to level up and have something to bring to the table. And that leads us right into step 7, which has a pretty memorable name. Become the good stalker. And look, this is all about doing your homework. Before you even walk into that event, you research who's going to be there. You find that small group of people, maybe just 2 or 3, who could genuinely change everything for you. The goal isn't to meet everybody, it's to show up prepared to make a real, informed connection with the right somebody. Okay, so let's recap. You've built your foundation, you've gotten your skills, you've made the connections. Now for the final phase. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's all about turning that strategy into daily, trackable action. It is time to execute the plan. And that brings us to step number 8, which is maybe the single most crucial skill in this entire process. You have to learn how to sell. And look, we're not just talking about selling a product. We're talking about selling your ideas, selling your vision, selling yourself. It's positioned as the one skill you just can't skip no matter what path you're on.
All right, step 9 is all about making this giant goal feel real and, well, doable. I mean, becoming a millionaire sounds so huge and abstract, right? But if you break it down, it's just math. $1 million a year works out to about $2,740 a day. All of a sudden, that huge, scary goal becomes a concrete, daily target, something you can actually aim for and track.
And that brings us to the final step, step 10. And this one is probably the most provocative of them all. It's a pure mindset hack to keep you hungry. The advice? Remind yourself every single day that you're broke. Not literally, but you're broke compared to what you're capable of. So, how does that actually work in practice? Well, she describes this little daily ritual. You physically look at your bank account. That's your reality right now. Then you immediately look at your vision board. That's your potential. And you go back and forth. The idea is that this contrast, this tension between where you are and where you're going, is what keeps that fire lit. It keeps you driven and stops you from ever getting comfortable. So when you boil it all down, this whole 10-step plan is really just a system. It's a framework for methodically, step-by-step, closing that gap between where you are today and where you know you could be. And that really leaves all of us with one big final question to chew on. If your reality doesn't match your potential just yet, what are you going to do about it? What's your first step?